Hello guys, 1 second. Alright, so I just got this in the mail through masports on Instagram. Well, not Instagram, eBay. He has an account on Instagram, Rip City Kaiju. You should go check him out on both Instagram and eBay. He has some pretty good stuff on there. Whether you're a Godzilla fan, Gamera fan, sometimes even Ultraman stuff is on there. But please, if you see a Bandai Godzilla 1975 or an Anguirus 1968 from Bandai, don't buy them or else I'm filing a lawsuit against you. You can't buy those two. It's against the law. But to start, he has a very nice looking sculpt, and he's actually smaller than I expected him, kind of because for years I've been used to the Bandai creations, which I'll get to when I get to comparisons, scaling, all that stuff. And I might actually do like a figure fight type thing, kind of like Stephen Toy reviews, but it'll probably be a different name. I haven't really figured out yet, and it might be called a ripoff. But hey, tell me when he's gonna do a figure fight between the Bandai Creations and Bandai Japan Godzilla 1968. I'm just filling in the gaps where he hasn't touched. Well, let's get back to the review. So, he has some very nice paint for a Bandai vinyl. The spine paint does not carry out to the tip of the tail, but is very nice. It has some very nice detailing from this part, from this spine right here, and a little bit of this one, all the way down to about here. And then it just fades out a bit and transitions into the black, which, considering Bandai's other works like before it, it's excusable since they had a good standard of quality. That was just like a little misstep compared to everything else about this figure, which is really good. It's got a white stripe on it, just very similar to some of the other works. Like, for example, this 1954 Godzilla with all the white spots, or some of the Bandai vinyls for 54 from Japan, and probably some of the Memorial Box figures. I don't think the 70s Godzilla has that though. But to start with articulation, we're still on paint. The teeth are done very well. They're not individually sculpted like NECA, Monster Arts, those figures, but that's basically how Bandai is on all their figures, so it's understandable. At least all of the ones that I can see right now are just printed or just like painted on. Although there is like a texture for them. So it's kind of like there's a strip. They sculpted little bits out for the teeth, as you can tell right there. Looks like 1967 in that light. If you look here, there's little hints of green. I don't know if that's like paintware or something from the seller since I bought them used, or if that's something that the figure had, like a green wash, at least on the top of the head. Because there is a green version of this with the memorial box, but now looking more closely at the eyes, there's like two little dots of paint drip from the white, but that's not bad for Bandai. The paint is actually very detailed, and I'm thinking the green paint is actually just like trying to mix things up and give it some detail. The other eye has better paint. I think there's a little bit of like paint wear right at the top of the eye on mine, but that might just be texture. I'm just not seeing for how. Yeah, I think it's paint wear, but that's not against the figure. Looks like the sculpt or something, if it can focus anymore, is like broken or paint is bad. Alright. Let's see, any more detail that I can point out on here? The claws are kind of minimalistic. How do I say it? A bit modern, Bandai, on these guys. But it's something that's been on a lot of figures, like another 1968. It might just be something, something that's on all their figures, but I don't know. There's a couple of them that have nail paint that carries onto both sides. For example, Bandai Creations and this is Playmates 1954, but Bandai Creations probably has the same detailing or whatever. Now for articulation, nothing in the tail, although there is glue here, and you can probably break that glue and get an extra joint. Nothing in the head because it's one full piece, just like the 1968. Full 360 at the arms. You can move the legs possibly 360, but they get stuck here because of how this figure is sculpted. I'm pretty sure from what I've seen, from what I've heard, it's like a dent or something in the figure in order for articulation, so it kind of gets stuck. That's all I've heard though. That's all for articulation. Just some more details I saw in the paint. It's got a nice black wash through the spines. It's not like a really dark black wash, but it's noticeable. Alright, so now on to comparisons. Here he is next to the Bandai Creations Godzilla 1968. You can definitely see the size difference between these two. This one, from what I've seen, is 7.5 inches tall, and this one is 6 or 6.5 inches tall. So, I don't know why Bandai Creations made their 68 so tall, but if you want to get a 68, you should get this one instead. It's a bit more expensive, but you'd rather have a more equal matchup, which segues us into our next comparison. Gigan 1972. Let's move my stand back here so we have more room. I'll have to move some stuff around. So, these two look, the size difference is bad for these guys, so I'll put him away. Now moving on to these two. It's pretty much a good size for both of them, and I assume Hedorah would fit in very well to the size comparisons. And here's a 2003 Mothra, but it's close enough to a 1964 Mothra, and the Bandai one's way too expensive. Yeah, these two are a bit expensive. That one got re-released, so it doesn't count. And this one's a bit expensive, but if you're gonna buy an expensive one, you'd want to get some cheaper ones to go alongside it. Now we have the Memorial Box, or 1968 Anguirus. This is the 6-inch, and it really doesn't matter because only difference between the Memorial Box and normal release is the paint. I got the Memorial Box, and that's why I need to get the, what is it? That's why I need to get the Movie Monster Series one. It scales very well. Now on to the last comparisons. We have a few figures to compare. Now, let me just bring these two down. And Mothra Larva looks pretty good. It's a bit big. This is the 2003 one. King Caesar is good sizing, but it's kind of big. Mechagodzilla is about the same height, just a little bit taller behind. like a hair. Then Ghidorah from GMK. I should move some of these ones around. Guys are taking up some very valuable room. Now, Ghidorah from G. Now, Ghidorah goes very well with him. It's not 1964, but it's close enough. Just get an extra of him, paint all this stuff brown, and boom, you have a Shovel Ghidorah, unless you want to get them future monsters, which, yeah, it's definitely coming. And then the bootleg, which is, pretty good. So, this might be the best way to get a Ghidorah if you just take a GMK one and paint it. But please get a double. Bandai creations are probably gonna start getting more expensive and rare because Playmates released them, kind of flood the market a little bit. They put a new stamp on them, thankfully, but I haven't seen many listings of Bandai creations with stuffed foot being showcased. So you might have to be pretty careful.